Well, hello there. Oh, you are glowing
Just a little bit.
just a little bit. I'm here for it. I am here for it. How's your day going?
My day is crazy. I'm trying to breathe right now. Have my fan. I'm trying to cool off. The- It was one of those days where the unexpected happens. I run a business, so literally in the most inopportune times of my life, things happen.
Yes, I
Like
can imagine.
I try to be on time, but I'm not a good multitasker. So if I'm talking to someone and someone calls me immediately, I'm just gonna stop what I'm doing. But I'm here now, trying
Well,
to.
I'm glad you're here and you're talking to me, so let's go. So tell me about what it is that you do and how you started doing it.
Okay, so I am the CEO of a PR agency. I'm the only Black trans publicist to have crossed over in like mainstream media, mainstream public relations. I started in 2012. I worked for an agency at the time, a very popular agency by the name of 135th. That's how I met Leslie. Um,
Yes.
and immediately, like I was, put in front of corporate beings of results, and me coming from Morehouse and then finishing my education at the University of South Florida, I was just like a fish out of water. And there was no tools to help you, there was no one to help you, there was no guidance. It was, here's the work, you either could do it or you can't do it, and that was that. So I just started to excel and work my way up and really just tried to put so much effort into what it is I wanted to do with my career. So I started
Yeah.
big campaigns. I worked on the Oprah Winfrey Network campaigns. I've worked with Tyler Perry's campaigns. I've worked with Mona Scott, Nicki Minaj. Like, it was so many big names within my first 2 years, and it was kind of overwhelming because although you're around the fame and the popularity, you're traveling, you're in the midst of these, people, you have to remember you still have a personal life. You still have to
Mm,
go home and sleep with yourself at night. You still have to go home and deal with your own and ambitions and your own things that you want to accomplish. So
right.
very difficult to find a balance. But I ain't had no choice. Look, I'm a trans woman, okay? The only options when I came out of college were or become a prostitute or an escort. And I've teetered on the side of both. So for me, it had nothing to do with, essentially like, could I, it was like, no, can I curse?
You go for it.
Okay,
It's the
so
heart.
bitch, you cannot go and be a prostitute because you too cute. And these men out here is crazy. And I'm a big, so I didn't want to put myself in danger. And I've been through so much stuff in my life that I just didn't want to do that. So I literally went through a very serious depression. Um,
Mm,
Literally a deep, dark depression. I come from a place of suicide, over 30 suicide attempts. I come from a place of, not having family support because I am transgender. So the average person leaving
yeah.
college and transitioning into career, they have their families, they have, people around that are rooting for them. And in my mind, it was just me, myself, and the world. So I had to find a way to make it work. And when I first started, I made $1,500 a month.
Mm,
That's how much I made working
wow.
working with some of the biggest A-listers in Black Hollywood, white Hollywood, all Hollywood. $1,500 a month. And I went independent maybe 2.5 years later. Um, and I just started saying, you know what? I need money. Money motivated me. My passion motivated me.
Yes.
I have a very discerned passion for public relations. I'm not an average PR person. When I have consultations, I don't do consultations like everybody else would do a consultation. I'm very particular about my set of skills. And
Mm,
I tell people all the time, not everybody could afford those skills. So I went through the whole realm of, working with the clients who only had a couple thousand, working with
right.
only can afford 1,500. You know what I'm saying? I went through that and I dealt with it because I was passionate. But maybe 3 years ago, something snapped in my head. The first year I went to the daytime Emmys, I raised a little bit over $150,000 that time for the daytime Emmys for the National Recording Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Yes.
And I said to myself, damn, I raised $150,000. I came back to Atlanta with $25,000, and I'm over here working with these clients that I do not like, these celebrities that don't have no real money. What? How am I gonna? So I started to streamline my clients. So now it's to the point where I deal with clients who only can afford a higher premium retainer. And it's not that I don't want to work with smaller clients, that I can't work with smaller clients, or that I can't work with celebrities. But to be quite honest with you, they cannot afford to pay for the skills that publicists in entertainment really can carry. So I had to make a choice. I said I would rather be good with 3 clients who pay me $10,000 a month than work with 20 celebrities to be up in the spotlight and get paid dirt, pennies, and nickels. So
I get that.
You know,
I understand completely. Trust me.
But I had to do what I had to do, and you know, I'm happy that I did it because I'm dealing with less stress. I'm dealing with, you know, the less burden of, you know, I'm just so such in a happy place. If I want to wake up and do work from my bed in a bonnet, money. If I want to get up and go to my office, I can do that. If I want to go home, and I can do that. It's just having the leisure. And to be a trans woman in this position, I think a few years ago I didn't realize the position that I was in. So I've just, you know, learned to basically build my own table. I don't discriminate against anybody who pulls up a seat to the table, but now that I have my own table, now that I'm the head of my own table, I make the rules, and if you don't like it, then the door is either to your left or to your right. And that's just how I've established myself. And
I love it.
To everybody in my career that has prayed for me, and I'm a pastor's kid, so I'm a naturally a spiritual person, and I'm a minister in real life. So,
come on, we got to talk about that.
Oh yeah. So naturally I am, you know, very big on the Lord and God, and until you start preaching the Old Testament versus the New Testament. See, I'm one of the pastor's kids that had to read 82 different versions of the Bible. I was raised half Jewish. I could say my grace, and I could say things in Hebrew. A lot of people, they don't understand. So I just try to, you know, I just try to say, okay, well, you don't understand me. You know,
I get it. Trust me, I've been there. As going to seminary, I understand. It's no joke. I went to a Presbyterian seminary. So Hebrew, Greek, we're going to learn it, Aramaic. We're going to dive into it. So I get it. And growing up that way, was it for you? When did you realize that you were not comfortable in your own skin?
To be completely honest, I feel like I didn't realize since I was born. And I say this because I remember being like, see, I have a very vivid memory. I have gone through so many bad things in my life that I have really tried to focus on the positive things in my life. So I have one of those memories where, like, I remember the worst things, but I remember the best parts of those worst things. So I guess growing up, I couldn't say what I wanted to be when I was young. I couldn't say I wanted to be when I was young. But what I did know is when I was like 8 or 9, I would draw myself in a dress, in a wedding dress. I was obsessed with wedding dresses. I was obsessed with the veil. I was obsessed with the way people raised when the bride. I was obsessed with brides. And back then, I couldn't really, you know, I didn't have a safe place growing up. I will say this, my whole life, I never had a safe space to talk. I couldn't go to my mama's friends to talk to her because they was all Republican. Come back and tell my mama. I couldn't go to my friends because they was all homophobic, transphobic people. So I had to, like, you know, I had to be a DL person. And it's crazy how people ask me, like, certain things about my career. I don't really think people really understand the sacrifices I had to do just to even sit in this moment to have a career. I used to have to draw a beard on my face.
Wow.
To fit in. Just to fit in. That's what I did. I sacrificed so much of my transition just to make my parents happy. And I spent more than half my life doing that. And it wasn't until maybe 5 years ago that I was just like, y'all can go to hell. Y'all can stay y'all Bibles and go to hell. Girl, I don't care what y'all say. I have made it this far. I'm not a prostitute. I've not died. My dad told me the last thing I was going to get AIDS and become a prostitute. Those are pastor, bishop, CEO. Those were his last words that I could recall that gave me some type of encouragement to say I'm going to be everything that he says I'm not. So in hindsight,
Yes.
I knew for a very long time, I just never had a safe space until maybe when I moved away for college. That's when I finally opened up my safe space and I was able to just like meet other people that related to me, and I didn't feel like they were going to go back and run and tell my parents. Instead, they
How
were
did you find that safe space in college?
um well see okay, so I'm one of those individuals that always cause a ruckus without even knowing I'm causing a ruckus. I don't mean to
Mm.
cause a ruckus. I'm just a big personality. When I walk into the room, you have to pay attention to me. I have tried to run away from that for a long time. So going to Morehouse, I really tried my hardest. I mean, I tried so hard, easy to blend in at Morehouse. And maybe within the first week, I mean, I was called faggot. They wrote faggot on my car with red lipstick. Like, and these were the gay people doing this to me. These were the gay. Morehouse is like 95% LGBT. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what. I've lived it. I experienced it. I don't know if the dynamics have changed, but back when I was on campus, everybody was on the down low. It was out here.
Everybody.
You were on the down low, and if you were straight, you never really hung around campus because it was too many boys. So you were able to just narrow down who was what. And it was just a matter of time before they snuck into your room or caught you off guard, or you know what I'm saying, found a way to communicate with you where nobody would know their business. But me being at Morehouse caused the administration at Morehouse to create a dress code policy for the men of Morehouse, and that
Wow.
was very heavily geared towards me. It was that big to where a writer, award-winning journalist Aaliyah King, came to Morehouse and researched all of us. She wrote a story, The Mean Girls of Morehouse. It was in Vibe magazine in 2000.
Wow.
It broke the internet, and that was my first introduction to any bit of what fame would look like. And I was so terrified. I was so terrified. You don't understand. We were trending on Twitter. And just to, like, just try, it was a writer was getting death threats. It was one of those moments where when you go back in the day, we didn't have Shade Room and stuff. We had me
Right.
out. We had Nicole Bitchy. We had
Yes.
the Bossett. So back then, you had to go to www.mediatech. You couldn't just go on the internet and, like, you know, even Facebook didn't even have sites where they were reporting the news. So
Right.
being in a place where Bob's website server crashed, all these servers had crashed, and the president of Morehouse is writing a letter, and all these things started happening. I just remember being in the darkest place in my life. I was trying to kill myself 2 weeks before that article came out. So I was already in a dark place. Then when the article came out, it just got worse. And I don't regret anything now being 31, but back then, I really have to credit my faith and my belief in God. And just
Yes.
faith and my belief in, you know, God is not a person who judges people based on people wanting to live their true self. God is a person who judges people based on people who do bad things to people. And, you know, because I come from a church background, I was raised a Jamaican church background. I'm the first.
Oh my. Oh my partner Jamaican, so I know how that is. I know how that is.
First American in my family, the first born American. Everybody else before me was born in Jamaica. Even my cousins, they were all born in Jamaica. So that pressure to just be perfect growing up was consistent, and I kept faith. I just was like, you know what, this can't be my life. Like, I can't be this depressed. I can't be this suicidal. I can't be this angry. Like, what am I going to do? So I literally went back to Florida. I enrolled in the master's program at the University of South Florida. And I just was like, Chanel, you are bad. You are bold. You are a brilliant girl. And
Yes. Talk to yourself.
so in the midst of me going into classes at University of South Florida, I would meet women who were getting their third doctorate degrees, rich, white, bougie women that just love. Like, I would come to class and they would like, you need to sit with me. Like, they were just like, and that's how I got into my other side of my career, which is I'm a professional fixer. I do work with like lawyers and doctors. I have 2 politicians on my roster right now. I have 3 CEOs on my roster. I deal with friends, I deal with their families. I deal with things that come down the press. And that is where I guess my faith has kind of kept me within my career and my personal life. And I tell people all the time, my career saved my life. Because for the first time in my life, people needed me.
Yes.
And they paid me to need me. And I didn't have to take my clothes off. I didn't have to jeopardize who I was as a person. I did not have to sell myself short. I just had to get a result. And that is where I've always just kind of kept the faith with like a lot of things that I've gone through is just Chanel. At the end of the day, you get a result. And if you get a result, nobody else can say anything about you other than I don't like her because she's trans. If you tell a person that the only reason you don't like them is because they're trans, you have to know the whole person in order to say you don't like a person.
Yeah, that's really narrow-minded. And I have been there before because there are a lot of people out there who don't even understand what it really means, and yet they're judging it based on their lack of understanding and not their personal experience. Well, for you, because I know you mentioned how many times you tried to commit suicide. What for you was the defining moment that said, I'm going to stop all of that? Because I know each time you get out of it, you're like, okay, I'm not going to do it. But what was the last time? How did you get to that last time where you said, this is the last time?
I was like, I'm not going to die. I have set myself on fire. I have cut my wrist. I have stabbed myself. I have played Russian roulette with one bullet in a revolver. I have done some really crazy shit. And at the end of it, I just keep saying, why am I not dead? And I don't know if it was the child in me that had to grow up because I had been running from who I really was. I stopped being a young man, maybe at the age of 11. That's when I ran away from a young man. And that's when my transness started to really become my protector in life. So it's safe to say growing up, I may have been a little bipolar because I had to live one way, but I was comfortable being a next. And I remember being 12 years old, dressing in heels, skirts, going to the club, sneaking out my house. I remember being 13 with a fake ID, going to all the clubs. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Then we went to Wellington, Florida. And I remember jumping off the rooftops in 5-inch pumps just to go to the club. And I will always keep a bag of clothes by the door so I could always keep my clothes. And my parents knew, my mom knew, because I suffered from depression growing up. I was an excellent, like that's how I'm not supposed to be in this career. Because I'd be like, I need to go for a walk. I need to get out this house because my dad was abusive to me. It was really tough growing up in my household. So I used to just go out in the middle of the night and just go walk around our neighborhood. We live in Wellington. Wellington and Palm Beach is like the Beverly Hills of Palm Beach. It's very upscale. Ain't nobody gonna rob you, kill you. So I used to literally would get up out my sleep 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and walk around the entire neighborhood until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So I used that as an excuse to go out. So I never really got in trouble, but I lived my whole life kind of being these two separate people. The last time I was maybe 20, it had to be right before my 25th birthday.
Okay.
Or was it after? I don't remember if it was before or after. I know it's my 20th birthday. I went home to Miami. I stayed on Miami Beach, got me a nice resort. And my birthday, but go on the beach, meditate. And I wanted to go back home and have a conversation with my father. Because my father has always been that one piece of the missing puzzle to where if my daddy doesn't approve of me, no one approves of me. So the head nigga in charge in my family. He's the one with the coins. He's the one with the he's the one with the church. He's in a position to where, he is respected amongst the community, amongst politicians, amongst people in his home country. So growing up, I always had a sense of I have to do right by my dad. I have to try to make him happy. That was one of the reasons I went to Morehouse. I got accepted into Yale. I got accepted into Berkeley. I got accepted to FAU. I got accepted into UC. I went to Morehouse because in my mind, I said, you know what? If I go to this school, my dad's going to find some way in his heart to love me as his son.
Wow.
So that I didn't. The worst idea I could ever do is living for somebody else. I didn't learn.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
I went home at 25, and I just wanted to have a conversation. I had a fake beard on. I had I went to my stylist, and she had put a little kinky dread twist so they could look like how the little dudes be twisting their hair. And I was masculine. I just remember going to church, walking into the church, like the prodigal son has returned. And I said to myself, if I could get past my dad thinking that I'm gay, that's good enough for me. When my dad was even going to set me for being who I was in that moment, I said, oh, hell no. And I went through a depression again. I left Miami so broken, like broken. And I essentially, I met my fiance. In the process of meeting him, I don't know. It was just, he just fully accepted me. Like, I'm crazy. I'm a little dramatic.
How'd you meet him?
I met him on a dating site.
Oh, which one?
Plenty of Fish.
Oh, come on, Plenty of Fish. Little props for Plenty of Fish. You know,
Plenty-
I am pro dating site, by the way.
Come on.
I really do believe in dating sites as an opportunity for people to weed people out really quickly. So, was it like, were you on there for a while before you found them?
Plenty of Fish is for the whores and the hookups and the prostitutes. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. Okay, I've never liked gay men. Like, it's always been a mystery to me to see someone super masculine get degraded in the bedroom. Not saying there's like, but that's, to me, it's like a turn on, but it's also like, ooh, that's not for me. But it's still like a turn on, but it can never be for me. So I've always like dealt with like heterosexual men, women. I don't want a man that's ever dated a man, because you will never treat me like a man. I'm a woman. I'm a phenomenal woman. Okay, bitch. I am a awesome. You will not.
Come on with it.
You can't. No. I don't care how masculine people think I am. It's not gonna happen. But we met, and I basically let him wait for like 6 months to meet me. I was very like, we have to understand, I'm a trans woman, and this is one thing people have to realize about trans women. We are one of the most desired creatures in this world, okay? I have over 200 request messages on Instagram. Some celebrities, some not celebrities. I've had sex with some celebrities. Some celebrities have, you know, slid in my DMs, and I'm not a messy person, so I would never expose who those people are. But do
you have a person that you haven't, just to be clear, that you haven't had sex with, who's a celebrity, but if you could get a hall pass from your fiance, that you would be like yes to?
No.
Okay, all right. Mm-hmm. You are clear with that fiance. I love it. I love it.
And you know what? It's not with him. It's not even about the sex. I think I've always, one thing about my parents, although there's a lot of dysfunction, my mother has had very strict values growing up. She was a virgin. And my dad, she vowed not to get pregnant before marriage. She just had all these boundaries in her life, and she achieved all of those boundaries. And that's the structure that I come from. And my father being a boss, being a pastor, I come from that structure. Although we don't get along in the dysfunction, you can't help how the structure in which you were raised. So I grew up very much so having an idea of what I would want a relationship to be. I told myself, I'm not going to date a whole bunch of men. I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of heartbreak. My motto is, you know, I had to literally kick my parents to the curb. So my parents to the curb and move on with life. Ain't no man going to be able to come into my life and me not be able to structure myself to say, And I'm not a very picky person. I'm so laid back. I'm so calm. I don't have a lot of requests. I don't have a lot of demands. I'm very easy breezy, beautiful. But I also believe in structure. And so when I met him, I built a friendship structure. No sex, no interaction. We're just going to text and we're going to talk every day. We're going to and see where it goes. In 3 months, if I have the same energy, then I'll say, oh, okay. And in 6 months, if I feel like this energy is unmatched and you've really been consistent, then I'm going to give you opportunity. Now, don't get it twisted. When I was single, I had sex with anybody I want to have sex with. I feel like single, girl, I know I look good. You know, like girls, big girls and stuff. Let me tell you something. I know I am desirable. So,
you better know.
Yeah, I had a motto when it came to men. Okay, when it came to men, this was my motto. Okay, this is strictly it. I ain't gonna have sex with you if you want to have sex with me. I gotta have one. I gotta have to want to.
You gotta want it first. Yeah.
Yeah. And girl, I don't have to tell a man I want to have sex with him. Girl, I'm beautiful, and you know.
You really are thinking. You really are thinking like a traditional woman, because that is exactly what most of my female clients would say.
It took me a long time to get to this place, but I have to tell myself, Chanel, you are sickening, you are beautiful. And even if you don't think people will look at you as a beautiful person, but your career is beautiful. So I have a backup for the backup. So I just, you know, when it came to that, I was like, no. So, but our relationship isn't perfect. We've been through everything. We've cheated on each other. His baby mama outed him. It's just, Our
But you're still working. How long have you been engaged?
well, I've been engaged since November. Um,
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't have my
Yes.
there. Um, I've been engaged since November, but I've been on and off. We've been in like what is it? 4 different relationships in almost 6 years.
Mm.
I'm in the relationship. He evolved to another point in his wanting to settle down and wanted to commit. I'm not a person that settles for anything, but I am a very vulnerable person. So if a person could find out what my vulnerabilities are, 9 times
Yes.
I will be able to play on it, and I won't stop you from playing on it. So I just got to a point where I was like, look, I want to get married. I want to have children.
Yes.
I want to be
Yes.
I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 35. I told
Yes.
myself before I turned 30, I would be making 6 figures. 2 years ago, I started making 6 figures, and it was an easy.
Yes.
So I have goals. So I'm just like, look, I don't care if you pick up trash. Okay, these are my goals.
Yes.
Match these goals, or you could continue living your single life. And it took both of us some time to kind of let our guards down. We're both Tauruses. We were both raised by the same sign parents. Both of his parents are Aries. Both
Ooh.
are Virgos, and we're both Tauruses. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, we're made for each other. Like he's my soulmate, but he's also
Yes.
my best friend. Like it's not even, we're past the sex part. There's no awkwardness when it comes to sex. It's just when you need it, you need it. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think that's so much better in a relationship when you don't rely on your partner to give you all this love and affection. I have to learn how to love myself. So I feel like regardless of what, I will always learn more to love myself. And if he loves me because of that, great. But I'm very difficult in a lot of different terms, and he's been able to maneuver through my difficult. I'm going through, hormone replacement therapy. That's a whole nother.
Yes. A whole nother situation. Talk to me about how that feels to be going through that and to deal with that with your body and emotions.
So I haven't had any plastic surgery. I've always believed in being natural.
Mm-hmm.
I will have plastic surgery, but I've always been one of those girls who wanted to wait until after marriage. Like a lot of my friends who got plastic surgery were married because they had children, so they waited until after all that stuff. So I want to wait. I'm like, I can't physically have children. I know I have a surrogate, so I wanted to wait until after marriage so that when I get my snatched,
right?
only one person will have access to it. Because I tell myself, if I would have got my surgery before, I wouldn't be engaged.
So technically, you would be a virgin all over again.
I wouldn't say a virgin. I would virgin. If I
not quite a virgin, okay.
got plastic surgery before, not saying that I look good now, but if I would have because I don't wear a lot of like things that reveal, like I don't wear a lot of bathing suits and stuff. I don't like heels. I'm a sneaker queen. I don't really like high heels like that. I'm 6'5". I feel like God gave me the height, and other people put on heels just to feel my height. So I just walk into. I'm that girl. Sneakers, slippers. I'm a slipper girl. Sneaker girl. Ugly. You won't catch me in no heels. And
I love it.
I'm getting drunk for the night, because when I'm drunk, I can walk in heels. But other than that, it's not going to happen. But the process, I get really bad hormone cramps. The worst. They last for a minute. My moods they just vary. It just really depends. Like some days I could wake up depressed, but then it's like I know it's the hormones. And then other days I wake up happy, and I'm just like I know it's the hormones. So I don't take away like what's what. I'm just not like an overly emotional person. Like I'll cry at the smallest things. You know what I'm saying? I think the biggest thing for me is cravings. Like I've been eating hot pickles with garlic powder and garlic pepper, and I would wake up in the middle of the night and just like literally just eat a whole pickle, stuff like that. But other than that, it's not bad. I started off taking black market hormones when I was 13, 14. But I didn't even develop Adam's apple. I don't even know.
Really? I love that. Well, I love that you're, as you mentioned, because you are clearly presenting that, transparent and vulnerable about who you are and where you've been and what you've done. When it comes to any questions that you would want to ask if you had an opportunity, because this is your chance here. You have a love coach in front of you about your relationship or where you're going. Anything you want to ask me, you get a chance to get on my couch for a second. And anybody else who has questions, feel free to ask now. We'll go into our love talk session together. And so you can help me ask questions after you ask yours to me.
Do I have multiple questions or is it just one?
You go for it. We'll play it out.
First question, should I have some sign a prenup?
Absolutely. If you feel as though you are bringing something, yes. If you feel like you're bringing something to the table that is more than he's bringing, and you don't, this is when you bring a prenup in. Let me just say this. A prenup is just a legal document that says, in the event that this XYZ happens, because you define what that is, these are the stipulations. At the event that you are two equal, if you're two equal people and you want to walk away with your own stuff if something happens, then that's your decision. But those are conversations that happen because you both have safety in each other. That is a tough one, prenups, right? That's something that we have definitely introduced in the last 2 decades. But honestly, I feel like if you feel like that's something that would hinder you moving forward, introduce it. If you feel like it's a no-brainer, introduce it. If you feel like it's something that would hurt the relationship, talk about why, and then pull back.
Okay. He's not a prenup person. I'm not a prenup person either. A lot of people have been telling me to get a prenup. And like a lot of people who are like my CEO clients or my lawyer clients are like, Chanel.
Yeah.
Like, well, why? I don't feel like I'm getting married for better or worse. And
of course,
of what anybody says, I'm not getting up. I personally am not going to ever sign divorce papers. Ever. It's not happening. I'm so sorry. It's not happening. This is my life partner. You know how some people will say, like, Chanel, you can't say that because you don't know what's happening. No. It's my life partner. You know what I mean? Because I say that because I don't see him trying to take my business, even if we got a divorce. I don't see him.
I just want to let me remind you that a person who is in love is not the person who's in pain. We often can have 2 different sides to us when we are in love and when we are in pain. Those are 2 different places, mentalities. I've seen some of the most sane people go crazy because of a bad situation in a relationship. So what you're doing really is you're not saying that it could not last forever, but you are saying that I am building this business. It is my business. It is something that I am working on. And I want to, in the event that anything happens, I want to make sure that it's protected, my side of what we're doing. Now, you can really tailor. This is the beautiful thing about prenups. You can tailor it really to fit what it is. That if you have multiple streams of income, you could say this particular business, I am keeping to myself in the event that anything happens, 100% of my proceeds, or I should say income. But you can say that any income that we have, that let's say we start a joint venture, or we do this or we do that, or just this other thing that I do, like you mentioned, being the fixer, that those things could then be joint. But I always recommend, if you have multiple streams, especially putting at least one side to yourself that is for you. Look, the biggest myth about marriage and relationships is that you stop being an individual. Your story and your journey is still yours. You just happen to be pairing with somebody to share your journey with them while they're sharing their journey with you. But you are still 2 people deciding to link together to have one path but 2 journeys. Got that? It's one path, but it's 2 journeys. And if the journeys happen to do this, I want you not to go crazy, because this idea of life partner will have you in a Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett, blowing up cars, type moment because your whole identity is struck or stuck in this idea that we are this. So really you are this. That's what I want you to see. All right. So your prenup is protecting this, but it doesn't mean that you aren't connected. It just means that if there was a break, that my whole is still whole. Does that make sense? So I want you to, here's what it's not, look, the same thing you did when you were dating, the same rules that you used about protecting yourself, guarding yourself, those apply in marriage.
So I have a different theory. Okay.
Okay, talk to me.
This is how my marriage thing is. I've just been like this in the relationship, and it's worked for me. I don't know how, but it's for me because I have a motto in relationships, because people break relationships because of lying and cheating and whatever.
Yes.
I think marriage is a union of two people. So it's about the us. Now, although we are individuals, I feel like we have had our whole entire lives to be our own individuals. And that's why I feel like marriage comes at a point where you're mature enough in your life to know that you're not going to lose yourself by joining with someone. Now, I have a motto when it comes to relationships.
Go for it.
Anything you could do, I could do better.
Okay. I hear that.
What I mean is, you cheat on me. You don't think I want to cheat on? You don't think I want to have sex with somebody else that I've been fantasizing about too? Okay. You just can't get mad when my better is less than your better. That's the only thing. Because this is how I feel. If you cheat on somebody and you come back and you apologize because you're gonna feel remorseful, the least that you could do is let that person go out and do what the fuck they want to do. That's the least that you could do. You can't expect a person to be loyal to your lies and to your cheating, and then when they fall into the hands of someone who is probably showing them something different, you're now pissed off, you're now upset. To every action, it's a reaction. Did I say it's safe? Did I say it's healthy? No, it's probably not safe. It's probably not healthy.
Well, as long as you know. Because I mean, honestly, what I would say is, while it is true that you could give an equal reaction or a greater reaction, the truth is that you could just be who you really want to be. And you cannot allow someone's actions to stop you from being who you want to be and the way you want to be. So if you want to be the person who is faithful and loyal and all of that, their actions don't pause you from being who you want to be. But the other point here, I want to make sure I just put out here. 20 years ago, were you thinking the way you think now about where you are now? 20 years ago, you did. Mm-hmm. So you thought the same way.
Anything you could do, I could do better.
Well, not just that piece. I'm talking about when it comes to relationships as a whole, did you have the same idea about relationships that you did then as you do now? Or have you changed at all? Have you evolved at all about your thinking?
Okay, so there's a lot that I've had to evolve from, and I'll explain to you. So because I grew up in a two-family household, although it was dysfunctional, we still had a structure. Meaning, yes, when we went out in the public, no one knew I was getting beat up. No one knew my daddy was beating me. No one knew I was being mistreated. It was always like a facade that was put on. Being in front of the church too, you kind of have to, you deal with it. And I'm Jamaican too. Jamaican parents don't hit their kids and you call the police on your parents.
Right, you better not.
I called the police on my daddy. I called the police. So I think by 11 years old, my whole entire world was shackled because I called 911. My daddy hit me with a base and I was bleeding. I called 911 and tried to get that man locked up. It didn't work because all the police people and stuff. So it didn't really work, but I still...
Well, let me just say to you, I hate to cut you off, but I have to say this because I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I am deeply sorry that happened to you. It is not something that you deserved. It is not something that was warranted. It is not something that any child, but you specifically, because I'm talking to you, should have to go through. And I am glad that you are in a space where you can talk about it and that you can be free and that you can, I don't know why this person keep asking, do I like man, but do you like me? Anyway, I'm bisexual. Anybody else questions? All right. So, the truth is that you didn't deserve that. And I just had to pause to say that to you because I felt like that's that was needed. So I'm sorry. Proceed.
Let me say, over the years, so many people have apologized. And I used to always be like, okay, what's the solution? They never had a solution. They always had an apology. So maybe it was until like 2 years ago, I started to receive when people apologize and been able to say, thank you. I genuinely appreciate your concern and your apologetic, moments. Because that energy, sometimes I need it. Because for a long time, I felt like I was doing something wrong. So when people say, when they hear, even when I hear it sometimes, I don't talk about my story and get emotional. I'm not emotional, I don't. Because I always had my transness to protect the boy that was inside of me. So, I said I stopped being a little boy at the age of 11, 12.
Yeah.
I left him in the dust and a different person was created. But what I will say, going back to like, how I used to think 20 years ago, I've always had an idea of relationships and marriage, always in my head. I was obsessed with weddings. I was obsessed with unions. I was obsessed with people's love growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw the best people in the world get their heart broken by the same person that said, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, till death do you part. As I got older, I asked myself, what is my ultimate goal of getting married? Like, what is it for? Is it for
Right.
circumstance? Is it to making some money? I never saw myself getting married. I was the friend that talked shit about everybody. I was the friend that talked about everybody's relationship. Oh, child, y'all ain't gonna make it. Oh yeah, girl, he gonna cheat on you. Until I got in my first relationship and my heart was broken. It was. He broke my heart. He was the first man to break my heart. He was also the first man to ever mend my heart, which is crazy. So I think when a man breaks, when a couple goes through a breakup or somebody's heart is broken, a lot of the times they don't wait around to see if that person is capable of fixing it.
Right.
Because they're in that broken stage of,
I agree.
That's the end of it. I can't deal with it. Let me move on. If people would actually stick around, and you look at people who've been married for 70 years, 50 years, 30 years, you would sit and really think, this person had an option to get a divorce because their 30 years hasn't been all of that, but that person was smart enough to wait around for that, to see if that person was capable of mending your heart. And not hard to stay in the relationship, but mending your heart so that you can get past whatever thing hurts you in that relationship. So
you're talking good right here.
I have always, oftentimes, when it comes to my relationship, I have never put all of my eggs in one basket after he broke my heart. And it took me a time to trust him. I think he got comfortable lying to me because he was living a double life. He was on the low. He didn't have a problem being with me, but he was still conflicted with himself. And because I have discernment, I said, you know what? I have to let you go and I have to let you live your life. And I have to let you do all the things that you want to do in this world, because I would rather be single and be out here doing what I want to do than really to commit to someone so that he could change to be a better person. You have to see the world for what it is, and I will always be here as a friend. If you don't have anywhere to go, I will always be here. If you don't have anyone to talk to, I will always be here. But you will never, ever get close to even touching my energy or my heart again. And that's how I was for maybe 2.5 years. I was so cold, didn't care, girl. And
I appreciate you sharing that. And the reason why I asked if you had transitioned your thought at all and evolved, going back to your prenup question, is because your prenup is not for who you are now. It's who you might be in the future. And it is protecting the person you don't know who you'll end up being.
Well, okay, so my parents have been married for maybe over 30, whatever plus years, right? So they don't have a prenup.
Yeah.
My daddy has cheated on my mama so many times, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't care who watching. I saw one of my cousins logging on. You can go back and tell the whole family that he has been cheating on my mama all these. That's why my daddy really don't like me, because I caught him.
Because you know the truth.
And my mom not a confrontational person. She's a Virgo. So if she could just try to just let it die down, it's different. And I was like, why are you letting this man beat on me and cheat on you? Girl, we need to take him. And at 13, I was like, girl, you can take him for everything he got. He got property, he got whatever. You don't have a prenup. And my mother was just like, well, it's not mine. And so even now, my mom being at a certain age, she feels like this is how much my father has messed her mind up. She feels like if she gets a divorce, she won't get anything.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's not true. Right.
My mother has her own money, but in her mind, she feels like if she gets a divorce, and the way that I look at it is like, okay, so if I get married, I don't want to, a prenup is, I would rather an agreement. I don't like the word prenup. I'd rather an agreement.
Well, change the word. But it is basically the same thing. You can phrase it any way you want, and it can be very specific, or you need it as specific as possible about certain things, but protecting yourself in the possibility that could happen. That's all. So I as a person who is meeting you and can feel your sincerity and would care and cares about what you're going through and this relationship that I can feel like you're so engaged in, I want you to consider that and be okay with it, that it's present. Okay, be okay that it's present. Be okay that it's created, and that it's, if you never need it, then you never need it, right? And it's one of those things that we don't like to talk about, like wills or like life insurance. But in the event that you need it, you need it.
Good that you have it. No, I get what you're saying. If I have a prenup, I would want him to have a prenup too. I'm not a stingy person. I'll be completely honest with you. I would have a separate bank account anyway. Like I'm one of those people. Like I'm like man money. Okay, before rainy day, you just don't know. I'm one of those type of people.
Yes.
But one of the things that I think I'm struggling with in my journey to the altar, because I'm getting married next year, April. So this is one of the things I'm struggling with. I've never seen a Black trans woman publicly marry a Black heterosexual man, ever.
Well,
I've never seen it.
get ready.
I have no examples to go off of. Like my first dance will not be with my daddy. My dad. Like I'm going through the worst. I guess it's like a self-discovery. You sit and you go through memories in your mind, and you just kind of ask yourself, like, do you want to fix this, or do you not? Because I have a surrogate. I have an egg donor. By this time next year, my surrogate will be pregnant. By this time next year, I'll be someone's wife. There's a lot of things that are happening in my life, and I don't want to carry on generational curses. I'm trying to create a sense of calmness when it comes to my relationship in that retrospect. We do have a very public relationship. A lot of things, he came out about, he professed his love for me on a radio. It was V3 in Atlanta. I had a radio interview on love and relationships, and the host just basically asked him, like, what is your feeling? And I was in the chair like,
like, what's going on?
I was shocked. I was taken aback because I just never saw myself getting married. I thought about it, but I didn't see myself getting married. And now that it's happening, now that there's a date, now that I have a ring, now that there's a venue, now that there's the guest list, now that there's all this stuff, I am contemplating, like, completely, like, this is what I don't want to do. I don't want to go into my marriage the same person I was before. I want to remain true to who I am on the inside, but I don't want to go into a new energy feeling like how I felt for the last 30 plus years of my life, because that would not be fair to my husband. It wouldn't be fair to him.
Absolutely. Well, that's the point of change. That's the point of the next phase, is to
how do you change? I know how to change, but like, I'm a very dominant person. I'm super independent. I don't even let him pay for anything, and it's so sad. And I hate that I'm like that, but I am very much so. No, it's fine. Like, and it's not for anything else. If he gives me money, I save his money and for him, and I'll be like, hey, you have a few $1,000s sitting in the account. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, You could have a few thousand. I don't like. It wasn't until recently where I'm just like, we could combine our finances because I'm very big on, the right how finances are done, and he's not. I'm very responsible with money, but I'm extremely dominant. I'm extremely independent, and I think sometimes he is trying to like calm me from that because he's extremely dominant. He's extremely independent.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time releasing and letting go because I've been like by myself for so long and by myself mentally since I was a child. So I've only been able to rely on me my whole life. That's just what it is. I don't even ask friends for money.
I can tell you this.
So
I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to be clear about something that is so real here right now. And this is not just for you. This is for a lot of people who are independent, strong men, women. When you want to get into a relationship and when you're in a relationship and you are sensing those things, you're wise enough to be honest and transparent about where you are. That is your moment to have that sit down with your partner, get some help, talk to him, and be honest and transparent about what is needed. Because it's nice to say what you like. I'm dominant, and partner may not be as dominant. That may work. It may be okay. You got to find out what your partner needs, what you need, and find the median for what works. Because it could be that you don't have to dial it back much. It could be that you figure out the areas where your dominance is able to thrive and other areas where his is able to thrive. It could be that you don't have to change this whole person about yourself because that's never a good thing in a relationship. But it could be that you tweak it in order to match the needs of your partner. And that's the goal. A relationship is not about changing yourself to fit someone. It is about finding ways to be compatible with each other and making certain adjustments in order to fit what your partner needs. That's all. And I just have to say that because I don't want anybody to get on here thinking they have to. This is how people get in abusive relationships and other things because they think they got to fit what their partner needs. You don't fit what they need. You fit what you need together. And that's the part of a relationship, right? So I want to talk to you more because as we're about to end off, I really want you to tell more people about what you're doing as people see this when we air it back. I want people to know more about you and what you're doing, and I want you to share that. But I want to say to you this. This is really exciting for me, for you to be in this position because it is so necessary for this image of love to be seen in the world. I wish you the best in this situation. As a woman of faith, you understand that we need images and stories of people who have done. The Bible is nothing but a collection of stories of people who have accomplished things that we don't believe in. They are stories of burning bushes and people using little things and feeding a lot of people. There's stories of walking on water, doing the unknown, doing what wasn't done before. So this moment is just another entry in the Bible of our lives here. And your life is truly a testament, if you will, a testament of what can be and what should be, not just for people who are dating a transgender person, but anyone who is seeking love, anyone who wants love and needs love, because love is a universal energy. It's a universal force. And I believe that you deserve it. And so I'm here for you. Honestly, I'm here for you. We can talk offline, but
that was just so sweet. Let me just end off like by saying this. I've had so many trans women in the last like maybe 3 months just basically ask me how, because he was a man of the community. He's dealt with trans as far as sexual. He's never been in a relationship with one. So the adjustment when we got together, and they would say, how do you, and I tell them I pray so hard. I pray for him more than I pray for myself. And, I've just always been one of those individuals to uplift. I'm an uplifter. So there's things in his life he probably thought he was never be able to achieve some of his dreams. And I'm just like a motivator, like, hey, you can't stop. I've just always been that person, regardless of gender or anything. It could be a stranger from off the street. It's something I embody. It's ministry. I've, been asked to go into ministry so many times, and I've been running from it. I want to get into it maybe when I'm older, because it's not. I curse too much. I don't want.
What they got to do? Come on, Peter. Come on, Peter.
And now I just curse like a sailor, so I can't do that, child.
You felt really good on the show though, so I don't believe that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I will say this to anybody who is like in a position of like who's trans, who will see this, who's trans, who may ask yourself, you have to be willing to come to terms with certain things when it comes to the sacrifices that you've made to be in a relationship. It's not easy dating a heterosexual man. It's not easy being in public sometimes. It's just not easy. It's a huge adjustment. I think it's 96% of Black men who have come out in for trans women, and don't quote me on the percentage, but it's a very high percentage, have committed suicide. They have committed suicide. And you're talking about an individual whose baby mama tried to out him.
Yes.
Best side of all of this is that his mother, who passed away, was a huge trans advocate. Her closest friends in life were trans. He grew up with the spirit and energy of positive trans women. So for him, he never looked at it as a coming out. It was more of just like we're together. So just, you find someone that you really, a lot of trans people may not agree when they see this, and they may say, well, girl, how do you can't know. In order for a trans person to find love, they have to stop selling their body. They have to. And they have to stop thinking that every man should pay them for their time. They have to stop thinking that.
That's good.
Have to stop thinking that. And that's why I don't have a lot of trans support now from the public, because a lot of them are from that background. But they're all single. And I often say, I haven't met another trans person that's married. I have did you have any wedding pictures? What did you wear? What was the day like? Nothing. So the best thing that I could say that has saved all of this is his family on his mom's side and his dad's side. They love that I'm a Black, educated woman.
I love it too, by the way. I love it too.
They just, I tell my trans sisters out there, take a look at yourself and get a regular job. You know what I'm saying? You've programmed your mind to, making a certain amount of money because men are paying for you to fulfill their fantasy. You have to stop being someone's fantasy in order to become someone's wife.
Come on.
You have
stop being somebody's fantasy and start being their reality. Come on.
For trans people, Byron, that's for straight people, gay people, bisexual people, and it's all a fantasy. You have to stop being you have to stop looking at yourself as a fantasy and stop selling yourself to those who are willing to buy it. In order for the energy in your heart and your life to open up for a regular man to see the value in what you could be as his wife. And that's the same thing with me. I'm a normal person. I just happen to I happen to have a public career. I just happen to be in magazines and newspapers around the world. I'm still a normal, regular person. So
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing this and doing this. And we're about to get cut off, but I got to thank you for taking time today. Thank you so much. We got to talk. So let's do that.
You will.
All right. I look forward to it. Take care, dear. Love you.
Bye.